the global regulation, that it isn't there, it's down to the national level, and so no one wants to implement stronger regulation because they're worried about competitiveness. So I think the problem of having a hugely interconnected global market and yet having national level regulation seems to be quite a big hindrance to financial systems. If we're looking just now at the discussions around sort of the framework that should be put in place by the FSA, move away from principles-based into stronger regulation, they're worried about it because they're worried that they're going to be losing their competitive edge and that companies will migrate elsewhere where there's less regulation. So unless there's a top-down approach from an international body, I'm not sure how you can get stronger regulation.
A really simple thing Sainsbury's has done, for example, is they had on top of the shelf, like, you know, you've got your chocolate counter, had the Divine ones, then the Cadbury ones, then the Nestle ones, and it's only silly with things like that, but from regional perspectives across the UK, the individual rise in sales from those particular items increases because consumers buy rubbish because they're told to. And it's us to inform that, and it's the way things are laid out and planned that really do make a difference. I mean, Cadbury's is now fair trade, Ben & Jerry's is going fair trade, and there is a great big rush and want for it.
As well, like there's some kind of great, I don't know, a very concrete example, but yesterday I was like, you know, a shop looking for fridge, and you have, like, Europe has imposed some grades, so they're all graded from A to D. At that moment, nobody's kind of cheating, and each, like, you see as well, but every company has been pushed toward efficient model, as everybody is kind of AAA. You see a C, like you just don't buy the fridge. So it's kind of perhaps not a label, but even some grades, some kind of thing that will push the company to do better, because if they don't, they really just don't do that. I don't know if it's possible.
Would it be an acceptable business practice to increase, you know, taxation on imports of a country if you knew they were indulging in sweatshop labour or dodgy business practices or anything like that? Or would that, you know, undermine sort of their self-determination, as it were?
It's incredibly difficult to regulate that. I mean, almost impossible. You can't impose a tax on a clothing company because you think they may be involved in some sort of sweatshops in, you know, a developing country. You know, if you prove that, then it's going to be a huge scandal anyway. So, you know, taxing is not an issue. You can't. I don't know how that would be possible.
This is where the harmonising of national. If you can't create a magical, omnipotent institution, then you can try and harmonise national laws. And it sounds impossible, but we've done it on so many things. We've done it on food labelling, we've done it on air traffic control, we've done it on the labelling of flight numbers and standards for building of bridges and ports and airports and whatever. And the way it's always been done is countries, if we impose these standards or we create them together, then countries that don't have the capacity to implement them themselves or ensure that they're transparent, then that's the role of us, the citizens, the members of these organisations, as capacity builders. So it's not completely impossible to harmonise standards like this. And yes, there will be black holes, yes, there will be places where it slips through because of corruption or because of poor policing, but we as citizens of the world can help build capacity within nation states to implement these kinds of rules, because we've done it on thousands of things. And if we can have these international standards for things that, you know, for about the quality of goods, the safety of this, that and the other, why can't we have standards for ensuring that those benefits are then passed down to the people along the value chain, like their safety and their well-being and their benefit? It's not unfeasible. We'll all read something in the newspaper about the UN General Assembly is meeting, and we'll read that, you know, all these leaders turned up, but we'll never really hear very much about, like, the World Trade Organization was meeting last week or the week before, and you'll never hear about this. We'll never hear what came out of it, and we'll never get the chance to say, actually, I don't agree with that, and 90% of people don't, but you went ahead and made that agreement anyway. It should be about strengthening information and making sure that we get to put our 2 pennies forward.
So one country, one vote, rather than sort of distributing it on economics. So then you're actually getting a much greater
Or
consensus.
population, it should be population. Because I mean, one country, one vote is also unfair. If you're China and you're 1/5 of the world's population, and you get the same vote that Monaco does, it should be based on population, because you've got, in that sense, the most at stake in the most objective sense, as opposed to I've got the most money in hedge funds.
So,
And how about combining that with how much you contribute to the world? You know,
yeah.
Yeah.
because I think that's quite important. Really, you might have a country that's got 3 billion people in, but don't really contribute very much because they're quite insular.
Yeah.
Don't really look
And then
really
that'll
international
encourage them
looking.
to- It could be like the US electoral college system then. China's got 14% of the world's population, they get 14 delegates, or
Yeah,
140. And they're free to vote, and they take their own.
But I do like the idea that you're not just accountable to one kind of group of people, which tends to happen in the region. You'll either be accountable to a certain wealthy group of people, or you're either accountable to whatever it might be. I think I like the idea of having a wide basis.
Whereas I think if we actually get our ideas together and think, yeah, I totally agree with responsibility. I also agree with the population. I think that's quite good. And things that we can actually do, then they can sit down and go, actually, this might be achievable, and we might actually achieve something.
Yeah, what it means to buy a fair trade product. Are you better off buying a fair trade product? Actually, should I be buying that t-shirt at Primark? Maybe just a more considered awareness when we're...
Just exposing the processes that a product
Yeah,
goes
absolutely.
through. You know,
Transparency.
giving information. Yeah, exactly.
But on an individual level, just everyone being like a more aware consumer.
There also has to be the secondary level of education that people should be making choices because it is good for them, but also internationally as well. So they need to be informed about what the product is, but also why it is good to make this choice of the product.
Yeah.
Would you introduce it into the curriculum and look at the citizenship classes that children have now, 14, and say a bit of some of the core subjects would be, about where things come from, and kind of go back to basics and teach them that, teach them certain issues, so they grow up being more international. I think that's the key, isn't it?
Yeah,
really?
definitely.
The question is convincing people to do something that will help people that they will never meet, that they may never even go within 10,000 feet of them, or anywhere near their part of the world. And that's why it becomes different from the environmental issue, because,
But can't you twin it, though? A move away from just growth for growth's sake and the amount to quality of growth. So that means that you're twinning it with the environment because you're only buying certain products that are very good rather than a large amount of products that aren't of a high quality but are much cheaper. If maybe you have a bit more of a premium on quality, then it has to link in with the environment because you don't want to have unregulated growth, and so you can start twinning all of these sort of strands together.
what actions can we as one person take to push things in that direction?
we can keep talking, we can keep having discussions like this, but all the time, without being, oh, my flatmate doesn't shut up about the third world, but but just keep discussing with people, keep encouraging people to question.
Keep the topic alive, current.
But at the same time, because empathy and political will is a finite thing. Like, after Live Aid, everybody was Africa'd out for 2 years, and it didn't come up on the agenda.
So, definitely using your power to communicate what you think needs to be communicated. To say the word communicate a lot.
Communication is very important.
Brilliant examples being like when the 56 newspapers all had the same front cover regarding Copenhagen. I mean, absolutely amazing. And sort of the same with the Prince's Rainforest Trust, which we've been working on. We had something like 100,000 blogs, all with this press release ready, and when given the day, all put it out. So across our whole stream of media, this about, this is the rainforest, we need to save it. It's using all these new technologies, these new ways of interacting with consumers to make all these products and these issues relevant, which, through various companies and whatever we all do, we obviously sell things to mass markets or vice versa. So it's using that to implement that underground tone, that slowly realisation of what they are actually buying.
They're going to do it with alcohol. I think the opposite of fair trade, this product is not fair trade, is going to put you off buying it more than going, well, that one is fair trade. I think that kind of awareness, when it's there in front of you.
When I was at university, I used to picket Topshop and all of this and stand outside, but no one took us seriously because, like you said, we looked like a bunch of students who'd read a Naomi Klein book. We need to mobilise ourselves and sit like this, face to face with them, and discuss it in their language and take serious, that sounds dangerous, but take action that is grown up, or you know what I mean?
You need to get inside the system to change it.
You need to get inside their mentality.
But nowadays, we're lucky in that we've got more and better tools than ever before to raise awareness and petition. It can be whether Cadbury brings back the whisper, because you had thousands and thousands of people signing up on Facebook saying, I really want to eat and buy Whispers again. Or it can be, Oscar Morales over in Colombia organising 10 million people across the world to march against the FARC by, raising awareness of them through social media. So just a responsibility, I guess, to use your voice when and as you have the tools to do so.
I think one of the opportunities this video, wherever it's going to be, is awareness that there needs to be more forums for that, for young people to voice. Instead of the university, people and planet, you leave uni, you go, oh, what do you do now? It's sort of, I don't know, sort of, I presume, sort of university, you have all these societies and you leave and you do all these events and then you leave and you suddenly go, oh, in the real world now, sort of thing, I've got to get a job. But it's trying to maintain that understanding of
also
change.
for the people who don't go to university and the people who don't have that, that kind of access and that kind of information. Because to be honest, if you're a young guy in Peckham, some white top has got nothing to do with you. And he's completely irrelevant to your life, and there's no reason for you to believe that he has your interests at heart. So I think being able to make sure that these forums are available to people from a much more diverse variety of backgrounds would perhaps be the next step, and would be something that would really make a difference in terms of widening access, but B, our understanding.
Without sounding too Enid Blyton, I think it'd be a really good idea if we all went away and organised something like this in anywhere, in a garage, in a boardroom if you've got one, or in a park or whatever. Try and organise things like this, and then you tell someone there, you tell everybody there, go away and organise something like this, go away and organise something like this, and see if the chain sustains itself. But that's a tangible thing that we can do.